All right, if you are currently in my classroom, welcome to the final set of notes for your curriculum. Okay, this is graphing circles in general form. The last section, or the bell work here on the board, was graphing circles in standard form, and now we're going to graph them in general form. Okay, so bell work wise, number one. Again, we are going to identify three things: what the graph looks like, we're going to identify the center, and the radius. So number one, we can look at this and identify the center. Again, the center was the opposite of the number that's in parentheses with the x. There's no number, so that's a 0. Comma, the opposite of -4 is +4. The radius was equal to the square root of the number that is on the right-hand side all by itself. The square root of 36 is 6. Okay, graphing that. Again, be careful with these things. I'm seeing a lot of these things that are graphed kind of backwards, and instead of graphing 0, 4, they're graphing 4, 0, but make sure that you're going left or right first, then up or down. So we go anywhere left or right, then we go up 4, we have a dot. And then the radius is 6, so again, from here we go up 6 and make a dot. Go back down to the center, go over 6 to the left, dot, back to the center, go down 6, dot, back up and to the right 6, dot, and then again, as nicely as you can, make the circle. Ooh, that wasn't so good. You get the idea. Number two, again, identifying the center right away is the opposite of the number in here. So C equals, the center of the opposite is -1. Opposite of 6 is -6. The radius again is the square root of the number on the right hand side by itself, and that is 3. Okay, so graphing wise, -1, so we go left 1, down 6, dot. And we go left, down, up, and right, 3. 1, 2, 3, dot. 1, 2, 3, dot. 1, 2, 3, dot. And 1, 2, 3, dot. And again, as nicely as we can. You draw your circle. Okay, moving on. Okay, this shouldn't be a very long section. There's only 6 pages of actual notes, 3 of which are examples. So bear with me. Okay, on here, completing the square review. You're going to have to complete the square possibly once or at most twice on these problems each. Okay, so just a quick review here. You're going to subtract the value of C from both sides. Okay, I want all constants to the right-hand side. You're going to divide the value of the B term by 2 and add it to both sides of the equation squared. Okay, it does not say squared there, but it has to be squared. Number 3, you're going to rewrite the equation as that. Okay. Again, looking at things in general like that at times are a lot more difficult, so bear with me again. You do have 3 examples coming up. Okay, circles in general form. Again, this is slightly different than standard form. So these ones, everything could be potentially over on the left-hand side, and it could be set equal to 0. These are set up differently. The only thing that's different between these and standard form is that these are not factored out. Okay, and what we're going to have to do is go from the general form and factor it out to basically be in the standard form. Okay. So we're going to have to put this in the standard form. So we're going to have to do some shifting around and some small math before we can get to the same thing as the bell work. Okay, procedure here. Again, this is just a suggestion. Some of you will go through this pretty quick. Some of you won't obviously space this out with just each step. You're going to have your own little steps. Okay, again, be your own advocate here as far as what you need to do and what you don't need to do. Okay, procedures wise, my suggestion is number one, that you're going to group the X terms together. Okay, and then number two, you're going to group the Y terms together. And then number three, you're going to move any constants to the opposite side of the equation. Okay, so all variables to one side, doesn't matter if it's left or right. Constants or non-variable terms to the other side. Okay, that can all be done in one move. Again, as long as you're comfortable with it. Okay. Number four, you're going to complete the square on the X terms, and again, that is only if needed. Okay. Number five, you're going to complete the square on the Y terms, and again, that is only if needed. Number six, you're going to write the equation in standard form, and you're going to simplify the side with no variables. And then number seven, you're going to graph the standard form of the equation. Again, just essentially exactly what we did for the belt work. Okay, so here, first example, again, 1 of 3. The idea again is we're going to do this. We're going to shift things around on the left-hand side. Okay, I want my X terms to be by themselves. I want my Y terms to be next to each other, and then I want that constant to the other side of the equation. Okay, so I'm going to do a few things here at once. I'm going to move this over here, and I'm going to move this over there. Okay, I'm just going to reverse spots here basically, and then I'm going to move this to the opposite side here. Okay, so I'm going to subtract 36 on both sides. And that's going to give me now x squared plus 12x. Okay, and you'll notice something that I'm going to do here that I didn't suggest in the procedures. I'm going to put a blank space here. Okay, so actually let me move this over to give myself a little bit more room. Okay, so I have x squared plus 12x plus, and I'm going to leave a space, plus the y squared minus the 8y plus, and again I'm going to leave a space. Okay, I'm going to leave a space for the x terms, and I'm going to leave a space for the y terms. Okay, equals, this 36 is now negative 36. And again, I'm going to add now 2 blank spaces. Okay, and these blank spaces are from these. Okay, so we'll call this space, I don't know, we'll call it S1. This would be S1 for space 1. Okay, and this would be S2. This is space 2. Space 2. Okay, remember, anytime that you add something to an equation, what you do to one side, you must do to the other side as well. Okay, and vice versa. If you do something subtraction-wise, if you do something multiplication-wise, division-wise, you have to do it to both sides of the equation. Okay, so continuing from here. The next step was then to complete the square. And again, completing the square means what? All we're going to do is we're going to look at this term right here. Okay, this B term. And again, understand and note that I'm underlining the sign that is to the left of that term as well, because that's essential. Okay, and we're going to take that and we're going to do this. We're going to divide that number by 2, and we're going to square that. Okay, and again, what I did here on the left-hand side, I need to do on the right-hand side as well. So I'm going to have 12 over 2 squared over there as well. Okay. In the next step, I'm going to simplify, so bear with me. Most of you will not actually have to put 12 over 2 squared. Okay, you can just go ahead and simplify right away. That would be fine. In this box now, I'm going to put half of the negative 8. So now it's negative 8 over 2 squared. Be sure to use the negative if it's minus there. Okay, and again, what's on this side is now going to have to be on that side as well. Okay, so now that gives me x squared plus 12x plus, and we're going to simplify. That's all I'm going to do for this step. I'm going to simplify. Half of 12 is 6. Okay, but I'm going to leave that as 6 squared. Okay, you could put 36, but again, I'm trying to help you simplify this and make life a little less complicated. So again, bear with me, and let's see how this works. Okay, plus y squared minus 8y plus half of negative 8 is negative 4 squared equals negative 36 plus, again, it's the same thing as what's here, so it's 6 squared plus the negative 4 squared. Okay, so that's the first step of completing the square, was taking half of that b term and adding it to both sides squared. Okay, the next part is then the factoring. And again, factoring should not be that difficult if we leave it in this form. If you don't square that 6 squared and you don't square that negative 4 squared, the left-hand side is pretty much done for you. It's whatever this variable is and whatever's inside of here. Okay, those will just come together. I have the x from the variable, and this is positive 6, so it's plus 6, and that quantity is squared. Okay, understand we're just using a shortcut for factoring. If I did 6 squared, I would have 36. And I would have to find the factors of 36 that would add to get 12, again going backwards. And the factors of that add to get 12 are 6 and 6. Okay, so if I have 6 plus 6, or sorry, x plus 6 and x plus 6, that would end up being this worked out if I would have squared this. Okay, so again, it's just a shortcut. Plus sign always goes in the middle. And then again, we're going to do the same thing here. Whatever this variable is goes down. Whatever's inside of here will also slide in there. So I have the y, that's negative 4, so minus 4 squared equals negative 36 plus 6 squared is 36 plus negative 4 squared, which is positive 16. Make sure that when you plug that into a calculator, if you plugged it into a calculator, that you used parentheses if your calculator has that function. If it doesn't, then it's okay. But negative 4 squared is positive 16, not negative 16. Okay, again then, finishing this out, x plus 6 quantity squared plus y minus 4 quantity squared equals, and we'll notice here with the negative 36 and positive 36, those actually cancel. Okay, that will not always occur, it just happened to occur here. Okay, so understand that. So we have a 0 here, that's gone, and then 16. Okay, so this is one of your answers. I'm looking for each of these equations to be given in standard form. Okay, from here then, you do exactly the same thing we've been doing. All right, so the center is at the opposite of what's inside here, comma, the opposite of what's inside there. So the opposite of positive 6 is negative 6. The opposite of negative 4 is positive 4. The radius is the square root of this number on the right-hand side. And the square root of 16 is 4. And then again, we go back to graphing. So we got negative 6, 4. So we go here, go to the left 6 because it says negative. Up 4, we have a dot. Radius is 4, so from here we go up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to the center. 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to the center. Down 4. back to the center, left or right, 1, 2, 3, 4, dot. And again, graph as best you can. So starting here. That's a good circle. Okay, so again, procedure-wise, the majority of your work is going to be going from the general form to the standard form. But again, once you've done it a couple times, it shouldn't be that difficult. All we're literally doing is dividing by 2 and squaring that result. Okay, and then adding it to both sides. All right. 2 more. Okay, you'll notice this one is slightly different than the previous example. And if you can, try to figure out why. Okay, I'll give you just a second to think about it. Okay, notice that on the x squared and the y squared, we actually have a number on there. That can't happen. Okay, on circles in particular, it should only be x squared and y squared. It should not actually have a number attached. So when I have that occur in this class, you're going to be able to divide everything by that number. Okay, so here, you'll notice that the x squared and y squared have an 8 attached to them. I can divide everything by that 8 and get rid of it. Okay, so we're going to start there. I'm going to divide by 8, divide by 8, divide by 8, divide by 8, divide by 8. Again, understand you are going to divide every single thing by that number. If it does not divide nicely, that's okay. You still have to do it. Okay, so once we simplify, we have x squared plus y squared plus 2x minus 3 equals 0. Okay, and now it's the shifting around game. So again, we're going to interchange some things here. This 2x needs to come up here. This y squared needs to go back there. This needs to be added to both sides because again, it's over here with the variables. We want to get rid of that. So I have x squared plus 2x. And again, anytime I have a single variable here, I'm going to add that blank space. And then I have the plus y squared. Okay, and then I don't have a y term, so I don't need to add that blank space. Okay, again, in the one of the previous slides here, I said you're going to have to perform completing the square either once or up to twice. Okay, if you have a variable that only has the square term but does not have this single variable, then you only have to perform completing the square on the one that has both. Okay, if it doesn't have both, then don't worry about it. So equals positive 3 plus, and then I only had the one blank, so I only needed one blank there. Okay. Here again is going to be half of whatever this number is. Okay, again on the b term. So it's half of 2, so 2 over 2 squared. And 2 over 2 squared. Next step down, again, I'm just going to simplify. So x squared plus 2x plus parentheses 1 squared plus the y squared equals 3 plus that 1 squared. And then again, to factor this out, this and this will slide down. That gives me x positive 1, so plus 1 squared. The plus y squared just comes down because that's all I have. And then we got plus 3, not plus 3, equals positive 3, that's what I wanted, plus 1, okay, because 1 squared is 1. Now again, I can combine that right-hand side, so I have parentheses x plus 1 squared plus y squared equals 4. That is now the standard form for the equation. Then again, from here, do the same thing we did with standard form. We have to identify the center. So the center is the opposite of the number here. So the opposite of +1 is -1. Opposite of the number with the y, which we don't have anything, so it's a 0. The radius is the square root of the number here. Again, it's not always going to be a perfect square, so make sure you understand that. Be ready to simplify if needed. Okay. Center here is -1, 0, so we go to -1, 0. We go here. We go left 1 because it's in the x value. None up or down because it has 0. Then we go up 2, left 2, right 2, down 2, up 2, dot. Left, down, to the right. Okay, and that's all there is to that. All right, one more example, and then you're done with notes for the rest of the semester and the rest of your high school career with me as a teacher. Okay, on this example, again, we have to see that we have some stuff kind of messed around here. I have a y term now on the right-hand side where it's not supposed to be. Okay, so again, I just need to shift it around. No matter where I place things or where you get the problems placed stuff at, you're going to have to move your variables to the left and your constants to the right. Okay. Again, it doesn't really matter which side they're on. Actually, I guess if you have fewer constants on the left, then leave them on the left. Okay. If you have a majority of your factors on the right or your variables on the right, go ahead and leave them on the right-hand side. Okay. But here, it's a one quick move. We can move that 6y to the left and then have everything in place. So I'm going to subtract 6y here and subtract 6y right under there. So that leaves me x squared plus y squared minus 6y plus, again, I'm going to go ahead and do the underline thing here, equals that 16 that stayed plus, again, that underline. All right. You'll notice here, just like the previous example, I only have one of the variables that has an x squared and then a single variable. That's the y. X doesn't have a single variable, so I can't complete the square on that. That's just going to be left alone. All right. But completing the square on the y terms, again, I'm just going to take half of that number here attached to the y, so -6 over 2 squared. And over here, same thing, -6 over 2 squared. Again, continuing down here, we got x squared plus y squared minus 6y plus half of -6 is -3 squared equals 16 plus -3 squared. And again, what happens here, this variable and this simplified number here come down. So we have x squared plus y minus 3 squared equals, we have 16 plus -3 squared is plus 9. And then again, combining the right-hand side, so we have x squared plus y minus 3 quantity squared equals 25. Okay, so again, that's the standard form now. Identify the center, which go ahead and put it underneath here because it's easy enough. 0, because there's nothing there with it. The opposite of -3 is +3. The radius is the square root of the number here on the right-hand side, which is, again, a nice perfect square for us. Okay. Graphing it out, 0, 3. Again, this is 0. We don't go left to right any. We go up 3 because it's +3, dot. Radius is 5, so we go up, down, left, and right 5 units. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Back to the center. To the left 5, back to the center. down 3, 4, 5, dot, back to the center, and to the right, 5, dot. Again, now as best as we can, we go up and around. Okay. And that's all there is to it. Again, there's just one added step to these as opposed to the standard form. All you're going to have to do is complete the square. Okay. But again, it's not that difficult because all you're doing is taking half of each of the B terms, putting them right next to those terms, okay, and then adding them to both sides, and then just working through the process. Okay. Don't try to overly complicate this. But again, as always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, by all means, feel free to reach out to me. Okay. And if you end up passing the semester at this point, congratulations and a job well done.